The night settles gently over the land of the Nile. The last light of the sun has faded beyond the western desert, leaving behind a sky filled with quiet stars that seem almost close enough to touch. The warm air still carries the memory of the day's heat, though it now moves more softly across the fields and villages. Along the river, the water slips through the darkness with hardly a sound, following the same patient path it has followed for countless generations. In the distance, a small oil lamp flickers inside a mud brick home. Its golden light escapes through a narrow doorway before disappearing into the quiet night. Somewhere nearby, a dog gives a sleepy bark and then settles once again. Palm leaves whisper gently whenever the breeze finds them. The scent of baked bread still lingers in the air, mixed with damp river reeds, warm clay, and smoke from cooking fires that have nearly burned down to glowing coals. This is a peaceful hour. The busy sounds of the day have drifted away. Farmers have left the fields. Fishermen have pulled their small boats onto the shore. Builders have laid down their stone tools. Merchants have counted the last of their goods before covering them for the night. Even the scribes have rolled their papyrus scrolls and placed their reed pens aside. Now another part of life quietly begins. For the people of ancient Egypt, bedtime was never simply the end of the day. It was a careful journey from the bright world of sunlight into the mysterious hours ruled by darkness. Every evening carried its own small routines, familiar habits, whispered prayers, and peaceful customs that had been repeated for many generations. Long before anyone closed their eyes, the evening itself unfolded slowly. The air cooled little by little after sunset. Families welcomed the relief. During the hottest months, the stone floors inside their homes held a welcome touch of coolness beneath bare feet and simple leather sandals. Children who had spent the day running between narrow streets or helping with small household chores became quieter as the darkness deepened. Inside many homes, the evening meal had already been shared. Simple loaves of bread rested beside bowls of onions, beans, lentils, or fresh vegetables gathered from nearby gardens. Some families enjoyed dried fish from the Nile. Others might have goat cheese or sweet dates. Wealthier households sometimes served roasted duck, figs, honey, or wine, but for most people, dinner remained humble and comforting. No one hurried. After a full day beneath the desert sun, even conversation seemed slower. People leaned against cool walls while they ate. Clay cups passed gently from hand to hand. Parents listened to their children speak about small happenings from the day. Grandparents sometimes shared old family stories whose beginnings had long been forgotten. Outside, darkness continued spreading across the valley. Without electric lights, night arrived completely. The stars became brighter than most people today could easily imagine. Ancient Egyptians knew these stars well. They watched them every night throughout their lives. Certain stars marked seasons. Others helped travelers find direction across the desert. Priests carefully observed the heavens, while ordinary farmers simply found comfort in seeing familiar patterns appear one after another. The sky itself became part of bedtime. Many believed that the heavens were alive with divine order. Every evening reminded them that the great cycle of life continued without interruption. The sun disappeared only to return again. The river continued flowing. Crops continued growing. Families continued living much as their parents and grandparents had done before them. This steady rhythm brought comfort. As evening deepened, lamps became increasingly important. Most homes did not have many of them. Oil was valuable. A single small flame often provided enough light for an entire family. The lamp might be made from simple pottery with a small wick floating in animal fat or vegetable oil. Its flame danced gently whenever someone walked past. That small light changed the feeling of a room. The walls seemed warmer. Faces appeared softer. The day's work slowly faded into memory. Children often watched the tiny flame until their eyes became heavy. The adults moved carefully, making sure the precious lamp would last until everyone had finished preparing for sleep. Preparation for bedtime involved many small actions that felt ordinary but carried quiet meaning. Sandals were placed neatly beside sleeping mats. Clay jars were covered. Leftover food was protected from insects. Doors were secured with simple wooden bars. Animals kept within household courtyards were checked one final time before darkness fully settled. These simple routines offered peace of mind. Tomorrow's work would begin early. There was comfort in knowing everything stood ready. Many homes included only a few rooms. Space was shared by everyone. Privacy, as many people know it today, hardly existed. Yet families developed rhythms that allowed each person a place within the household. Children might already be lying upon woven reed mats. Parents quietly finished their evening tasks nearby. The oldest family members sometimes remained awake just a little longer, enjoying the cool night air drifting through open doorways. Above them all stretched the enormous Egyptian sky. The stars watched silently. The moon slowly crossed above the river. A faint breeze carried the smell of water into the village. Some homes were built with flat roofs. During especially warm nights, families climbed carefully onto these rooftops carrying woven sleeping mats beneath their arms. From there they could rest beneath open skies where cooler air flowed more freely than inside the rooms below. Imagine lying there. The day's warmth still rises gently from the mud bricks beneath you. The stars fill every corner of the sky. Some seem bright enough to cast faint shadows across the roof. Far away, frogs begin calling from the riverbanks. Occasionally an owl glides silently overhead. Nothing rushes. Nothing demands attention. The whole land seems to breathe slowly. For many Egyptians, bedtime also carried spiritual importance. Darkness was mysterious. It was beautiful, but it also reminded people that much of the world remained unseen. The Egyptians believed the universe was filled with unseen forces, both kind and dangerous. During daylight, life felt ordered and visible. Night introduced uncertainty. Because of this, many people quietly offered prayers before sleeping. These prayers were rarely long speeches. Often they were simple words spoken softly within the family. A mother might whisper protection over her children. A father might thank the gods for another successful day. An elderly grandparent might quietly repeat familiar sacred phrases learned many decades earlier. These moments required no audience. The prayers belonged to the peaceful rhythm of home. Sometimes protective symbols rested nearby. A small carved amulet hung above a doorway. A painted image decorated part of the wall. Tiny objects shaped like sacred animals rested upon shelves or beside sleeping places. Many believed these items helped guard the household while everyone slept. Whether rich or poor, people found reassurance in these traditions. Even those whose homes contained almost nothing still carried their beliefs with them into the night. Ancient Egyptian sleep was shaped by nature itself. The rising and setting of the sun controlled daily life. Without artificial light extending the evening, most people became sleepy not long after darkness arrived. The body followed the rhythm of the earth. Morning began early because daylight mattered. Evening ended early because darkness encouraged rest. This natural pattern repeated day after day. Season after season. Generation after generation. The people hardly questioned it. It simply felt like the proper way to live. Of course, sleep itself was not always perfect. Summer nights remained warm. Mosquitoes sometimes drifted from marshes near the Nile. Flies could become troublesome before full darkness. Dust carried by desert winds occasionally settled inside homes despite every effort to keep it outside. Still, exhaustion often overcame discomfort. The average worker spent long hours carrying water, farming fields, grinding grain, shaping bricks, carving stone, weaving cloth, or transporting goods beneath the blazing Egyptian sun. By evening, muscles ached pleasantly from honest labor. Hands grew rough. Feet became tired. Shoulders longed for rest. Sleep arrived naturally. Builders who worked on temples or tombs understood this feeling well. Many left their work sites slowly as sunset approached. Their bodies carried fine layers of limestone dust. Small cuts marked their hands from tools. Their clothing smelled of stone, sweat, and sunshine. As they walked home together along dusty roads, conversation remained gentle. No one wasted energy speaking loudly. The day's work had already spoken for them. Upon arriving home, they washed as best they could. Water was precious, but even a small amount removed much of the day's dust. Some households kept simple clay basins for washing hands, feet, and faces before dinner. The cool water felt refreshing after hours beneath the relentless sun. Clean skin made bedtime more comfortable. Hair, too, received attention. Ancient Egyptians valued cleanliness. Many shaved their heads or kept their hair closely trimmed, especially in warmer months. Wigs were common among wealthier people during public life, but bedtime invited simplicity. The day's appearance no longer mattered. Comfort mattered. Rest mattered. Quiet mattered. Nearby, women finished preparing tomorrow's grain. Grinding stones rested silent after many hours of use. The heavy work of turning grain into flour demanded patience and strength. Each evening brought satisfaction in seeing enough flour prepared for the following day's bread. Nothing extravagant. Just enough. Enough was often a blessing. Children watched their parents complete these familiar tasks until sleep quietly claimed them. Sometimes they drifted asleep while leaning against a parent's shoulder. Sometimes they curled beside brothers and sisters upon woven mats. Sometimes mothers gently lifted sleeping children and carried them to their resting places without waking them fully. The movement became almost a nightly dance. Soft. Practiced. Filled with quiet love. In wealthier homes, bedtime unfolded somewhat differently. Larger houses contained more rooms. Servants extinguished lamps one by one. Linen bedding rested upon wooden beds raised above the floor. Headrests carved from wood, stone, or ivory supported the neck instead of soft pillows. To modern eyes these headrests appear uncomfortable. Yet generations grew accustomed to them. They protected carefully arranged hairstyles while keeping sleepers slightly elevated above insects crawling across floors. Even servants followed evening routines. After caring for the household throughout the day, they finally returned to their own sleeping spaces. Their rest came later than that of their masters. Still, fatigue treated everyone equally. Whether servant or noble, every person welcomed sleep after a demanding day. The silence deepened. Along the Nile, fishing boats rocked gently against wooden posts. Their ropes creaked softly. Water touched the shore with endless patience. Moonlight painted silver paths across slow-moving currents. Reeds swayed almost unnoticed. Some fishermen chose to sleep near their boats. Tomorrow would begin before sunrise. Being close to the river saved valuable time. They spread simple mats beneath open skies, listening to water instead of village sounds. The Nile became their evening companion. Its steady movement seemed almost like breathing. Throughout Egypt, temples also settled into nighttime rhythms. Priests completed evening ceremonies. Sacred spaces grew quieter. Large stone halls cooled slowly after holding the day's heat. Massive columns cast long shadows beneath moonlight. Incense faded gradually into still air. Even places dedicated to the gods rested during certain hours. Night belonged to silence as much as daylight belonged to activity. Far beyond villages, the desert stretched endlessly. Its daytime heat gave way to surprising coolness. Travelers camping along distant roads gathered close beside small fires. Their camels rested quietly. Stars filled every direction. Without villages nearby, the silence became almost complete. Only wind moved across the sand. Even there, bedtime rituals continued. Water was shared carefully. Simple meals were eaten. Prayers were whispered. Sleep arrived beneath skies so clear that every constellation seemed alive. And while families rested, while workers dreamed, while priests watched sacred flames fade into darkness, the great land of Egypt remained quietly awake in its own timeless way. The river continued its endless journey north. Palm trees continued their gentle swaying. The stars continued their silent procession across the heavens. Night itself became a guardian, wrapping every village, every field, every temple, and every humble home beneath its calm embrace. Within that peaceful darkness, another evening in ancient Egypt slowly drifted onward, carrying countless ordinary lives toward gentle sleep as warm desert air flowed softly through open doorways and the quiet waters of the Nile whispered patiently beneath the moon. The first hours of the night pass almost unnoticed. Inside the quiet villages that rest beside the Nile, the last lamps slowly grow smaller. Their tiny flames no longer dance with the energy they held just after sunset. Instead, they flicker gently, growing softer with each passing moment. Eventually one family member leans forward, cups a careful hand around the lamp, and quietly blows the flame away. A thin ribbon of smoke rises into the darkness before disappearing completely. The room becomes still. Outside, the moon now provides more light than any lamp could offer. Its pale glow slips through open doorways and across smooth stone thresholds. It rests upon clay jars lined against walls, woven baskets filled with grain, and sleeping mats spread carefully across the floor. The home feels different now. Without the light of the lamp, every familiar object seems quieter. The day's work is truly over. The people of ancient Egypt understood darkness in a way that is difficult to imagine today. There were no distant street lights glowing beyond the horizon. No windows filled with bright rooms. No gentle hum of machines continuing through the night. Darkness was complete. It wrapped itself around every village and every field until only the stars remained above. For many people, this deep darkness was not frightening. It was simply another part of the world's natural order. Day belonged to labor. Night belonged to rest. The balance between the two felt as dependable as the river itself. As sleep slowly settles over the village, one can almost hear the changing sounds. The busy footsteps have disappeared. The voices have faded. Only the smallest sounds remain. A donkey shifts its weight inside a nearby enclosure. Goats breathe softly where they have settled together. Somewhere a loose reed taps gently against a mud brick wall whenever the breeze moves through. Far away, a bird calls only once before becoming silent again. These sounds are never loud. They simply remind the sleeping village that life continues, even in stillness. Many homes are warm long after sunset. The thick mud brick walls have protected families from the strongest heat of the day, yet they have also stored some of that warmth inside themselves. During the first part of the night, the walls slowly release that gentle heat back into the rooms. The air feels calm. Not hot enough to disturb sleep. Not cool enough to require heavy coverings. Just warm enough for simple linen cloth to feel comfortable. Most people sleep lightly dressed, wrapped only in thin fabric or covered by woven blankets when the season becomes cooler. Children often move during sleep. A small hand slips free from beneath a blanket. Tiny feet stretch across a woven mat. Parents quietly adjust the covering without fully waking the child. Such moments have happened every night for countless generations. No words are needed. The movement itself becomes an expression of care. Nearby, an elderly grandmother sleeps peacefully after another long day spent grinding grain, watching children, and preparing meals. Her hands show the marks of many years of work. The skin is rough. The fingers are strong. Yet now those hands rest quietly upon her lap. Work has finally given way to peace. The rhythm of breathing fills the room. In another house, a young scribe lies awake for a little while longer. His work is different from that of the farmers and builders. His shoulders ache not from carrying stone but from long hours bent over papyrus. His fingers still remember the shape of the reed pen. His eyes have spent the day following neat rows of careful writing. Even now, as he watches the moonlight spread across the ceiling, his thoughts drift gently through the records he copied before sunset. Soon enough, those thoughts also become quiet. Sleep welcomes him just as kindly as it welcomes everyone else. The people of Egypt often believed that dreams carried meaning. Not every dream was considered important, of course. Many were simply the wandering pictures of a tired mind. But sometimes a dream felt different. Sometimes it seemed unusually clear. Sometimes a familiar face appeared. Sometimes a god seemed to speak without words. Because of this belief, bedtime itself held a gentle sense of mystery. No one knew exactly what the night might bring. A dream could simply be a dream. Or perhaps it carried a quiet message waiting to be understood. Some families kept small protective amulets close while they slept. These objects were usually modest in size. A carved scarab. A tiny eye symbol. A figure shaped from clay or polished stone. Such objects were not displayed with great ceremony each evening. They simply remained close, becoming familiar companions through many nights. A child who had slept beside the same small amulet for years might hardly notice it anymore. Its comfort came from its quiet presence. The bedroom itself, if one could call it that, often served many purposes during the day. The woven mats rolled away each morning. The room became a place for preparing food, repairing clothing, storing baskets, or welcoming visitors. Only when evening returned did it slowly transform once again into a sleeping place. This daily change happened without complaint. Life flowed naturally from one purpose to another. The room served the family. The family adapted to the room. Nothing felt unusual about this arrangement. Outside, the Nile continues its patient journey beneath the moon. Its waters never truly stop moving. Generation after generation has watched the same current slide quietly toward the sea. Children become parents. Parents become grandparents. Grandparents pass into memory. Yet the river remains. Even in the middle of the night, fishermen sleeping beside their boats can hear the soft sound of water touching the shore. The rhythm is gentle. Almost like breathing. It rises. It falls. Again and again. Some fishermen sleep so close to the water that the cool river air reaches them before it reaches the nearby village. The scent of reeds fills the night. Occasionally a fish breaks the surface with a quiet splash before disappearing once more beneath the dark water. No one rushes to investigate. The river simply continues living its own quiet life. Further inland, fields of barley and wheat rest beneath silver moonlight. Tomorrow they will once again sway beneath the morning breeze. Tomorrow farmers will return carrying simple tools across their shoulders. Tomorrow children may help chase birds away from the grain. But none of that belongs to this hour. Tonight the fields themselves seem asleep. Even the irrigation channels appear calm. Water reflects the stars as though the sky has gently settled upon the earth. In wealthier neighborhoods, larger homes enjoy a little more space. Beds stand upon carved wooden legs. Fine linen hangs neatly folded. Painted walls show peaceful scenes of gardens, birds, and river plants. Yet even here, the atmosphere remains surprisingly simple once darkness falls. The rich cannot command the stars to shine brighter. They cannot persuade the moon to move more slowly. They sleep beneath the same sky as the farmer and the fisherman. Night quietly reminds everyone of this shared world. Servants move silently through the larger homes before retiring themselves. One checks the courtyard gate. Another covers a basket of fruit. Someone carefully folds the day's clothing. Their footsteps are soft upon smooth stone floors. Soon they too disappear into the quiet. In the countryside, a shepherd lies beside his flock. His cloak rests around his shoulders as protection against the cooler desert air. The sheep settle close together, their warmth creating a peaceful circle around him. Every so often one animal stirs, giving a gentle bleat before becoming still once again. The shepherd opens his eyes for only a moment. He listens. Everything is safe. He closes his eyes once more. Many travelers passing through Egypt describe the remarkable clarity of its night sky. Without clouds, thousands of stars become visible. The Milky Way stretches overhead like a pale river made of light. For those living along the Nile, these stars were lifelong companions. Children learned their patterns naturally. Old people remembered watching the same stars when they themselves had been young. Some evenings families remained awake just long enough to admire them before sleep claimed everyone. No one needed to hurry indoors. The warm climate invited people to spend a little longer beneath the open sky. On flat rooftops, entire families sometimes slept together. The woven mats covered much of the roof's surface. Children whispered softly for a few moments. Parents reminded them that morning would arrive quickly. The whispers slowly faded. Silence settled once more. From above, the village appears almost peaceful beyond words. Every rooftop holds sleeping figures wrapped lightly in linen. Palm trees cast long shadows across narrow streets. The moon paints pale lines upon every wall. Only the occasional guard or late traveler moves through the darkness. Even they walk slowly. There is nowhere to rush. In the distance, one of Egypt's temples rises above the surrounding land. Its massive stone walls hold the day's warmth a little longer. Sacred statues remain hidden within quiet halls. Priests have completed their evening duties. The great doors stand closed. Yet many Egyptians believe that the divine order of the world continues through the night just as faithfully as during daylight. The unseen work of the gods does not pause. The rising sun is already part of tomorrow, even though it cannot yet be seen. This quiet confidence shapes bedtime itself. People sleep because they trust that morning will return. The world has followed this rhythm for longer than anyone can remember. The sun has never failed to rise. The Nile has never forgotten its course. The seasons have continued their patient turning. Such certainty brings deep comfort. Even those facing hardship can find peace in these steady patterns. A widow sleeping with her young son knows tomorrow will ask much of her. There will be bread to bake. Water to carry. Clothing to mend. Perhaps grain to trade in the market. Life is not easy. Yet tonight, for a little while, those burdens rest quietly beside her instead of upon her shoulders. Her breathing becomes slow. The child beside her curls closer. The moon watches silently through the open doorway. Far away across the desert, a gentle wind lifts grains of sand into graceful waves. The dunes slowly reshape themselves. No human eyes witness this quiet work. The desert changes patiently through the night. Its silence feels endless. Closer to the river, the scent of damp earth becomes stronger as midnight approaches. Fields that bake beneath the afternoon sun now breathe cool moisture into the air. Frogs sing together among the reeds. Crickets answer from the grassy banks. Their small voices create a peaceful chorus that continues hour after hour. No conductor leads them. Nature keeps perfect time on its own. If someone wakes briefly during the night, they do not immediately become anxious. They simply listen. The frogs are still singing. The river is still flowing. A breeze still moves through the palm leaves. Everything remains as it should. Sleep soon returns. Somewhere within the village, a mother quietly rises. Her youngest child has begun to fuss in sleep. She lifts the little one gently into her arms. Without speaking, she rocks back and forth near the doorway where cooler air enters the room. Outside, moonlight rests upon the packed earth. The child slowly settles. Tiny fingers relax. Breathing grows even once more. The mother smiles softly, lays the child back upon the woven mat, and returns to her own place beside the family. Nothing about this moment will ever appear in royal records. No temple wall will preserve it in carved stone. Yet moments like these have filled the nights of ancient Egypt for thousands upon thousands of evenings. Quiet acts of care. Simple gestures of love. The gentle rhythm of ordinary life. And so the night continues to unfold with patient grace, carrying every sleeping household a little deeper into peaceful rest as the stars drift silently across the heavens and the eternal Nile keeps watch beneath the calm glow of the moon. Midnight has now settled fully over the Nile Valley. The world feels wrapped in a deep and gentle silence, the kind of silence that is never completely empty. It is filled with the smallest sounds, each one soft enough to disappear almost as soon as it arrives. A breeze brushes through the tops of date palms. Water glides against the muddy banks of the river. Somewhere in the darkness, a night bird calls only once before returning to stillness. The villages seem asleep. The temples seem asleep. Even the fields appear to rest beneath the pale light of the moon. Yet ancient Egypt is never truly silent. Life simply moves more slowly. The Nile continues its endless journey, carrying cool water from lands far to the south. Long before sunrise, the river is already preparing another day for the people who depend upon it. Every drop of water passing quietly through the darkness will soon feed fields of barley, gardens filled with onions and beans, groves of fig trees, and patches of flax that will one day become linen clothing. The river works without asking for praise. It simply continues. Perhaps that is one reason the Egyptians respected it so deeply. It asked for nothing. It gave everything. Along one quiet stretch of the riverbank, a fisherman sleeps beside his small wooden boat. The boat rests partly upon the shore and partly in the gentle water, tied securely to a worn wooden post driven deep into the mud. A woven fishing net lies folded nearby, drying after another long day of work. The fisherman has repaired the net many times. Small knots mark places where the threads once broke. His hands know every part of it. Tomorrow, before the eastern sky begins to brighten, he will unfold the net once again and push his boat into the calm water. But tonight there is only rest. His breathing rises and falls with the same slow rhythm as the river beside him. The moonlight touches his weathered face. Years beneath the Egyptian sun have darkened his skin. His hands are broad. His shoulders are strong. Yet in sleep he looks peaceful, almost childlike. Work disappears for a few precious hours. Not far away, another family sleeps upon the flat roof of their home. Their village is crowded, with narrow paths winding between mud brick houses that stand close together. During the hottest season, sleeping indoors can feel uncomfortable long after sunset. The rooftop welcomes the cooler air drifting across the valley. The family has spread several woven reed mats across the roof. The father sleeps nearest the edge. The mother rests beside the youngest child. Two older children lie nearby, turned toward the stars. One little boy had fallen asleep while trying to count the brightest stars above him. He never finished. His eyes became too heavy. His thoughts slowly drifted into dreams. The stars remained overhead, patient as always. For countless generations, children have fallen asleep beneath this same sky. Many of the constellations they watched still shine today. The stars seem almost unchanged. The world below them changes endlessly. Morning follows night. Children grow older. Homes are repaired. Fields are planted. Families welcome new babies. Grandparents quietly leave the world after long lives. Still the stars continue their silent journey. The Egyptians often saw comfort in such steady patterns. Order mattered deeply to them. The rising of the sun. The flooding of the Nile. The changing seasons. The movement of the heavens. Everything seemed connected in a great balance that stretched far beyond any single person's lifetime. This sense of order brought calm even during uncertain times. A poor harvest might worry a family. Illness might visit a household. A difficult season might leave workers tired beyond measure. Yet each evening, the stars appeared once again. They reminded everyone that life continued. Inside another modest home, an elderly man stirs gently in his sleep. Years of farming have left his knees stiff. His back no longer straightens as easily as it once did. Every harvest has taken a little strength from his body. He remembers carrying heavy baskets of grain when he was young. He remembers digging irrigation channels beneath the burning sun. He remembers helping build the very house where his family now sleeps. The walls around him are familiar. He shaped many of the bricks himself decades ago. Mud from the Nile. Straw gathered from harvested fields. Water mixed carefully. Clay pressed into wooden molds. The bricks dried beneath the powerful Egyptian sun until they became hard enough to build a home. Now those same walls shelter 3 generations of his family. The old man smiles faintly in his sleep. Perhaps he dreams of younger days. Or perhaps he dreams of nothing at all. Outside, the night wind gently brushes against the mud brick walls. The air carries the scent of damp earth from the nearby irrigation canals. The smell is rich and comforting. Without the Nile's yearly floods, this valley would be dry desert. But the river has transformed the land into a narrow ribbon of life stretching through endless sands. Every Egyptian understands this without needing to speak the words. Water means life. Each bedtime quietly reminds people of that truth. Clay jars stand beside nearly every doorway. Some hold drinking water collected earlier in the day. Others contain grain carefully protected from insects and moisture. A family may own only a handful of possessions. A few baskets. Simple cooking pots. A wooden stool. A grinding stone. A sleeping mat. Some linen clothing folded neatly. Yet each object has value. Nothing is wasted. Everything serves a purpose. When night arrives, these ordinary belongings become part of the peaceful stillness. No one reaches for them until morning. The grinding stone rests. The bread oven cools. The baskets remain untouched. Even the tools seem to sleep. At the edge of the village, a potter's workshop stands quiet beneath the moon. Only yesterday its courtyard was alive with activity. Clay was kneaded beneath strong hands. Fresh pots spun upon the wheel. Children carried finished vessels into the sunshine to dry. The kiln glowed with intense heat while smoke drifted lazily into the afternoon sky. Now everything waits. Rows of completed jars stand silently together. Their smooth surfaces catch faint moonlight. Tomorrow they may carry water. They may store grain. They may hold fragrant oil or fresh beer. Tonight they simply rest beside one another. Nearby, the potter himself sleeps deeply after another exhausting day. His hands still carry traces of fine clay beneath his fingernails. No amount of washing ever removes every small grain. The clay has become part of his life. It shapes his days. It shapes his livelihood. In many ways, it has shaped him. The same could be said for nearly every occupation in ancient Egypt. The farmer carries the scent of fresh soil. The fisherman carries the smell of the river. The baker carries flour upon clothing and skin. The carpenter smells faintly of cedar and acacia wood. The scribe's fingers show dark traces of ink. The linen weaver notices tiny threads clinging to clothing long after work has ended. Each person's work quietly follows them home. Only sleep gently washes the day away. As midnight slowly passes, the temperature continues to fall. The warmth trapped within stone walls and packed earth begins to fade. The desert beyond the fertile valley grows surprisingly cool. Travelers wrapped in simple cloaks pull them a little closer around their shoulders. Their small campfires burn lower. A camel shifts quietly before settling once more upon the sand. The stars seem even brighter now. There are moments during the Egyptian night when the silence feels almost endless. If someone stands alone beside the river, they may hear only water moving gently past the reeds. Perhaps an occasional fish rises briefly to the surface. Perhaps a soft breeze rustles papyrus growing along the shore. Otherwise, there is only stillness. This peaceful silence becomes part of every Egyptian's memory from childhood onward. Children grow up knowing these sounds. They carry them throughout their lives. Even those who later travel far from home often remember the nighttime voice of the Nile. Its gentle movement becomes part of who they are. Within the temples, sacred animals also sleep. Cats curl comfortably within quiet courtyards. Sacred birds tuck their heads beneath soft feathers. The priests who care for them have finished their duties for the night. Incense burned during evening rituals has long since faded into the cool air. Massive stone columns stand beneath moonlight exactly as they stood yesterday. Exactly as they will stand tomorrow. Time itself seems slower inside these sacred places. The carvings upon the walls show scenes of planting, harvesting, sailing, offering gifts, and celebrating festivals. Many of these images reflect ordinary life just as much as royal ceremony. The artists understood something important. The kingdom depended not only upon kings but upon everyone who worked quietly each day. The farmer who watered his field. The woman who baked bread. The child who gathered reeds. The mason who repaired a wall. The ferryman guiding passengers across the river. Each person belonged to the larger rhythm of Egypt. Night gently gathers them all together beneath one peaceful sky. As the hours drift onward, dreams continue filling countless homes. Some dream of abundant harvests. Some dream of loved ones no longer living. Children dream of chasing birds across green fields. Young apprentices dream of becoming skilled craftsmen. Mothers dream of healthy families. Old people sometimes dream of places remembered from long ago. The dreams themselves disappear with morning. But while they last, they become quiet companions through the dark hours. The moon now begins its slow journey toward the western horizon. Its light changes almost too gradually to notice. Shadows stretch in new directions. The rooftops grow slightly dimmer. The eastern sky remains dark, but somewhere beyond that darkness another dawn is patiently waiting. No one hurries toward it. The night still has many peaceful moments left to offer. And across the villages, fields, workshops, temples, riverbanks, and quiet homes of ancient Egypt, countless sleeping hearts continue to rest beneath the calm embrace of the heavens, while the timeless Nile flows onward with the same gentle patience it has carried through centuries, whispering softly through the reeds as another serene night unfolds in its own unhurried rhythm. The night has grown older now. Its silence feels deeper, softer, and more familiar, as though the whole valley has settled into the slow rhythm of sleep. The moon has crossed much of the sky, casting long silver shadows that quietly shift across rooftops, garden walls, and the smooth banks of the Nile. The stars still shine in great numbers, filling the heavens with gentle light that seems to rest peacefully above the earth. There is no hurry anywhere. The fields are still. The workshops remain quiet. The roads that carried so many footsteps during the day now belong only to the breeze. Even the animals seem to understand that this is an hour for rest. A donkey lowers its head against a stable wall. A flock of geese tuck their bills beneath soft feathers. Goats lie close together, their warmth shared without thought. The village breathes as one. Far from the grand temples and palaces that often fill the stories of history, countless ordinary homes continue sleeping through the calm Egyptian night. These are the homes where most people spend their lives. They are built from sun-dried bricks shaped by familiar hands, repaired whenever cracks appear, and passed from one generation to the next whenever possible. Their walls are simple. Their rooms are few. Yet they are filled with quiet memories. One doorway has watched children become adults. Another has welcomed new brides carrying baskets of linen. One corner of a room has held a grinding stone for so many years that the floor beneath it has become smooth from countless footsteps. A wooden beam above the ceiling has darkened from decades of cooking fires. Nothing is grand. Everything is loved. As the night continues, the warmth stored inside the walls slowly fades away. Cooler air from the river drifts gently through open doorways, carrying the fresh scent of wet reeds and fertile soil. The breeze slips softly across sleeping faces before continuing through narrow streets where only moonlight keeps watch. Inside one modest home, a baker sleeps deeply after a long day that began before dawn. His mornings always arrive early. Long before the first sunlight reaches the fields, he lights his oven. He mixes flour with water. He kneads the dough patiently until it becomes smooth beneath strong hands. The smell of fresh bread fills the neighborhood while most people are only beginning to wake. By midday, the heat surrounding the oven becomes almost overwhelming. Sweat gathers across his forehead. Ash clings to his arms. Smoke lingers in his clothing. When evening finally comes, he carries home a few fresh loaves for his family. Tonight those loaves rest inside a woven basket covered with clean linen. Tomorrow they will become breakfast. Nothing is wasted. Even stale bread may later be softened with water or used in another meal. The baker sleeps peacefully because tomorrow's work is already quietly waiting. Nearby, another household belongs to a family of linen weavers. Their work is slow and careful. Fine threads must be spun with steady fingers. The loom demands patience rather than strength. Every movement follows the one before it in gentle rhythm. Hour after hour. Day after day. The finished cloth becomes clothing, blankets, temple garments, sails for river boats, and wrapping for precious belongings. The family's youngest daughter learned to spin thread while still very small. At first her hands struggled to keep the fibers even. Now they move almost without thought. Skill has become habit. Habit has become part of daily life. As she sleeps, tomorrow's work is far from her mind. Only the peaceful darkness surrounds her. Not every night is entirely uninterrupted. Sometimes an infant wakes hungry. Sometimes an elderly person rises to stretch aching legs. Sometimes someone steps quietly outside to enjoy the cool air before returning to bed. These moments happen gently. No loud voices disturb the sleeping village. People move with care, respecting the quiet that blankets every home. A father stands for a moment in his small courtyard. Above him the stars seem endless. He rests one hand against the cool mud brick wall and breathes deeply. The day's heat has finally disappeared. The air feels pleasant against his skin. He listens. The Nile whispers in the distance. Palm leaves rustle softly. A night insect sings from somewhere near the garden. Nothing more. Satisfied, he returns indoors and lies beside his sleeping family. The silence welcomes him again. Across the river, a ferry rests against its landing place. Throughout the day it carried farmers, merchants, animals, baskets of grain, bundles of reeds, jars of beer, and travelers moving between villages. Its wooden planks creaked beneath heavy loads. Its rope stretched tightly across the current. Its ferryman called gentle instructions as passengers stepped aboard. Now the ferry floats quietly against the shore. The rope hangs loose. The oars rest across the seats. Moonlight reflects upon the calm water around its hull. The ferryman sleeps in a nearby shelter, knowing that before long the first travelers of morning will arrive. Even in sleep, years of routine shape his body. He often wakes naturally before dawn without needing anyone to call him. His life follows the river's rhythm. It always has. It always will. Farther away, in a village known for its stone workers, heavy tools lie where they were carefully placed after sunset. Copper chisels. Wooden mallets. Smooth measuring cords. Stone polishers. Each tool has served faithfully throughout the day. Each bears signs of long use. The craftsmen who own them understand that good tools deserve respect. Before leaving the workshop, they wipe away dust. They arrange everything neatly. Tomorrow's labor begins more peacefully when today's work has ended with care. That simple habit has been taught from father to son for generations. The workshop itself carries a familiar smell. Fresh cut limestone. Dry wood. Warm dust. A trace of lamp oil. Even after everyone has gone home, those scents remain quietly inside the building. Outside, the moonlight settles upon unfinished blocks of stone waiting patiently for morning. History often remembers the great temples and monuments these workers built. But tonight those grand structures are still only pieces of stone resting beneath the stars. The men who shaped them are simply sleeping. Their tired hands deserve as much attention as the monuments themselves. In another part of the valley, fields planted with flax shimmer faintly beneath the moon. The long slender plants move gently whenever the breeze passes through them. Soon they will be harvested. Soon they will dry beneath the Egyptian sun. Soon careful hands will transform them into thread. The journey from plant to cloth is long. Every stage requires patience. No one rushes nature. The Egyptians understood this well. The Nile flooded when it was ready. Seeds sprouted in their own season. Fruit ripened only with time. Children became adults little by little. Even sleep itself arrived gradually. Nothing truly important could be hurried. Within many homes, people sleep upon woven reed mats laid directly upon the floor. The reeds have been gathered from marshes near the river. They were cut, dried, and carefully woven together by skilled hands. The mats are firm but comfortable enough for tired bodies. Some families add folded linen beneath their heads. Others continue using carved wooden headrests that gently support the neck while keeping the head raised above the mat. To someone unfamiliar with them, these headrests might appear unusual. But for generations they have been trusted companions through countless peaceful nights. Many are beautifully carved despite their simple purpose. Even ordinary objects may carry quiet beauty. A craftsman sometimes decorates a headrest with graceful curves or small carved flowers. Beauty belongs not only in temples. It belongs in homes as well. The moon has now begun to sink lower toward the western desert. Its light softens. Some of the brightest stars slowly disappear near the horizon while others continue shining high above. The air becomes cooler still. A light mist forms over parts of the river where warm water meets the cool night air. It drifts lazily above the surface, almost like a pale veil. Fishermen sleeping nearby remain wrapped in light blankets. They barely notice the change. Years beside the Nile have taught them every mood of the river. They know its morning fog. They know its afternoon sparkle. They know the quiet sounds it makes at every hour of the day and night. The river has become almost like another member of the family. Every household depends upon it. Every harvest thanks it. Every child grows up hearing its voice. As another peaceful hour slips quietly by, the dreams of the sleeping village continue. A young apprentice dreams of carving smooth statues one day. An elderly woman dreams of walking beside her mother once again through fields that existed many decades before. A little girl dreams of gathering bright lotus flowers floating near the riverbank. A shepherd dreams of green pastures after the yearly flood. None of these dreams will remain clear after sunrise. They will fade gently, like footprints disappearing beneath fresh sand. Yet while they last, they offer comfort. The Egyptians often treated dreams with quiet respect. Some dreams were discussed during breakfast. Others remained private. A few seemed so vivid that they lingered in memory for many years. Still, most people accepted them as another natural part of the night's journey. Just as the moon crossed the sky. Just as the Nile continued flowing. Dreams also came and went in their own peaceful time. The hours move slowly now, almost too slowly to measure. The night feels full, yet unhurried. Every sleeping village, every quiet workshop, every shaded courtyard, every silent temple, and every gentle curve of the Nile remains wrapped beneath the calm heavens, where the stars continue their patient watch over ordinary lives, resting peacefully until the first faint promise of dawn begins its long and gentle approach. The deepest part of the night has almost passed. It is an hour that few people ever see while fully awake. The moon hangs lower now, drifting quietly toward the western desert where the day's last sunlight had disappeared many hours before. Its silver light has grown softer, and the shadows across the village have become longer and less defined. The air has changed. The warmth that lingered after sunset has almost completely slipped away. A cool breeze travels slowly along the Nile, carrying the scent of fresh water, damp earth, and tall papyrus reeds. It moves gently through narrow streets, across quiet courtyards, and over flat rooftops where many families continue sleeping beneath the open sky. Nothing disturbs them. The night itself feels protective. Above the valley, the stars still fill the heavens. Some appear bright and steady. Others seem to twinkle gently as warm air rising from the earth meets the cool air above. For the people of ancient Egypt, these stars are not strangers. They have watched them since childhood. An old farmer can recognize them without thinking. A fisherman knows where they rise above the eastern horizon. Temple priests study their slow movements with careful attention. Children invent little stories about the brightest ones before sleep quietly carries them away. The stars belong to everyone. No one owns them. No one can change their path. They simply continue their endless journey across the sky. Inside one small house near the river, a pot of water rests beside the doorway. The clay vessel has cooled during the night. Tiny beads of moisture gather upon its outer surface where the cool clay meets the warmer air. The water inside will taste wonderfully fresh when the family wakes before sunrise. Beside the jar stands a woven basket filled with onions, another holding dried dates, and a small sack of barley waiting to be ground later in the morning. Everything has its place. The room is quiet because every task has already been prepared as much as possible. Ancient Egyptian evenings were often about making tomorrow easier. Grain was measured. Tools were cleaned. Clothing was folded. Sandals were placed where they could be found before dawn. The work of tomorrow quietly began before sleep. This simple habit made each new morning feel a little gentler. Nearby, a mother sleeps with her youngest child resting close against her shoulder. The little one had stirred only once during the night. Without opening her eyes completely, she had reached out with practiced kindness, gently comforting the child before both of them drifted back into peaceful sleep. Such moments happen almost without thought. Years of caring for children have made every movement gentle and certain. There is no hurry. There is no frustration. Only quiet love filling the darkness. Across the village, another home belongs to a family of scribes. Writing is respected throughout Egypt. Few people can read and write with confidence, and those who can spend many years learning the careful shapes of hundreds of signs. A young apprentice has spent the entire day copying simple passages onto pieces of broken pottery used for practice. His teacher corrected every line with patient care. Some symbols were too large. Others leaned too far to one side. Still others needed smoother curves. The work demanded endless repetition. Tonight his fingers rest peacefully after holding the reed pen for so many hours. Tomorrow he will begin again. Not because he failed, but because skill grows slowly. Every careful line teaches the hand a little more. The Egyptians understood that mastery comes quietly. Like the growth of a tree beside the Nile. Like the wearing smooth of a stone beneath flowing water. Little by little. Day after day. In another corner of the valley, the home of a carpenter stands peacefully beneath the stars. The smell of wood still lingers inside. Fresh cedar. Acacia. Sycamore. Simple shavings remain gathered neatly in one corner of the workshop. The carpenter has spent the day making stools, boxes, wooden doors, and parts for farming tools. Every piece required careful measuring. Even the simplest object deserved attention. A crooked leg upon a stool might wobble for years. A poorly fitted door could allow wind and dust inside a home. Good work meant taking time. Time was never wasted when it created something that would last. Now the carpenter sleeps soundly. His hands still carry tiny splinters. His shoulders ache pleasantly from lifting heavy timber. The tools beside his workshop rest exactly where he left them. The saw, the adze, the chisels. Each waits quietly for another sunrise. The breeze continues moving gently through the palm groves. The long leaves sway together with soft whispering sounds. If someone happened to be awake, they might close their eyes simply to listen. The palms have their own voice. Never loud. Never hurried. Only a gentle rustling that blends perfectly with the distant sound of flowing water. The Nile itself appears almost black beneath the fading moonlight. Only where the light touches its surface does it become silver once again. A crocodile rests quietly near a distant muddy bank. Farther away, a hippopotamus moves slowly through shallow water before disappearing into deeper channels. Most villagers remain safely within their homes at night. They know the river deserves respect. During daylight it offers fish, water, transportation, fertile soil, and life itself. During darkness it belongs more fully to the creatures that share its banks. This understanding has existed for generations. People and nature live beside one another, each following familiar paths. The fields surrounding the village wait patiently for morning. Young wheat bends gently beneath the breeze. Bean plants stretch quietly across neat rows. Small irrigation channels reflect the stars overhead. Every field tells a story. Some belong to families who have cared for them for many generations. Others are worked by laborers serving larger estates. Some fields produce enough to feed many households. Others struggle through difficult seasons. Yet tonight all appear equally peaceful beneath the moon. No field shows its worries while everyone sleeps. Near one irrigation canal, a simple water-lifting device stands silent. Throughout the day, strong arms raised countless buckets of water from the canal into higher fields. The work demanded steady effort. Again. And again. And again. Muscles learned the rhythm. Shoulders accepted the weight. Hands grew stronger with every season. Now the wooden beam stands perfectly still. Even tools deserve rest. Ancient Egyptian life followed the rhythm of labor and recovery. Work filled the daylight. Rest filled the darkness. One depended upon the other. Without sleep, tomorrow's fields could not be planted. Without quiet evenings, early mornings would feel impossible. The balance was simple. The balance was wise. Far beyond the cultivated land, the desert stretches endlessly beneath the stars. Its silence feels almost sacred. Low hills cast gentle shadows across pale sand. Occasionally a fox leaves delicate footprints before disappearing once more into the darkness. The wind smooths away older tracks with remarkable patience. By sunrise, many signs of nighttime life will already be gone. Only the desert remembers. Travelers who have camped along caravan routes remain asleep beneath woven blankets. Their donkeys stand nearby with heads lowered. Bundles of trade goods remain carefully covered. Tomorrow they will continue carrying incense, copper, oils, linen, pottery, or precious stones between distant towns. But not yet. The road can wait until daylight. Inside the villages, tiny cooking fires have long since cooled. Ash rests quietly within clay ovens. The smell of yesterday's bread still lingers faintly. Soon those ovens will glow once more. Fresh dough will be prepared. Children will wake to the comforting scent of baking loaves filling narrow streets. Morning always begins with familiar smells. Fresh bread. Clean water. Smoke rising from small cooking fires. The earthy scent of damp clay warming beneath the first sunlight. These ordinary pleasures welcome each new day. But for now, the ovens sleep. A village dog lifts its head briefly after hearing a distant sound. Perhaps another animal moving through the fields. Perhaps only the breeze shifting loose reeds against a fence. After listening carefully for a moment, the dog curls into itself once more. Nothing threatens the peaceful village. The quiet remains unbroken. Somewhere nearby, an elderly woman opens her eyes. Age has changed her sleep. She no longer rests as deeply as she once did. For a few moments she simply watches the stars through the open doorway. She remembers watching these same stars as a little girl beside her mother. She remembers carrying water jars before sunrise. She remembers learning to bake bread over a clay oven. She remembers her wedding day. She remembers holding each of her children for the first time. Now many years have passed. Her grandchildren sleep only a few steps away. The memories drift gently through her thoughts without sadness. Only gratitude. The night has become a quiet place for remembering. Soon her eyes grow heavy once more. The stars blur softly. Sleep returns as gently as the river's current. Throughout ancient Egypt, thousands upon thousands of similar moments unfold unnoticed. No scribe records them. No monument celebrates them. No royal inscription mentions them. Yet these peaceful hours form the true heartbeat of everyday life. They are the moments that fill ordinary homes with warmth. The moments that quietly connect one generation to the next. The moments that make bedtime more than simply closing one's eyes. It becomes a nightly promise that tomorrow will arrive with fresh light, fresh work, fresh bread, fresh water from the Nile, and another chance to live within the gentle rhythm that has guided Egypt for centuries, while the stars continue their endless watch above the sleeping valley and the cool desert breeze moves softly through the palms until the first hidden hint of dawn begins, almost invisibly, beyond the eastern horizon. The eastern horizon is still dark. No line of gold has appeared yet. No rosy color has touched the edge of the desert. The sun remains far below the world, hidden beyond the quiet curve of the earth. Yet something has begun to change. It is not something seen at first. It is something felt. The night has reached that gentle hour when it slowly begins to loosen its hold on the land. The darkness is still deep, but it no longer feels endless. The air carries a fresh coolness that belongs only to these moments before dawn, when the heat of yesterday has finally faded and the warmth of tomorrow has not yet arrived. The Nile glides onward without pause. Its surface is calm enough to reflect the brightest stars, though the reflection shivers gently whenever the current moves around reeds or hidden stones. Small ripples spread outward from a fish rising briefly to the surface. Within moments, the water becomes smooth again. The river seems to breathe. It has breathed this way through every season, through every dynasty, through every lifetime. Long before the first villages stood upon its banks, it moved with the same patient rhythm. Long after countless generations have come and gone, it will continue. This quiet certainty comforts the sleeping valley. Along the riverbank, the reeds bend softly beneath the breeze. Their slender leaves brush together with a sound so gentle that it is almost impossible to separate from the whisper of the water itself. The reeds have many uses. Tomorrow they may be gathered for weaving baskets. Some will become floor mats. Others will be tied together to strengthen roofs or fences. Even the smallest plants beside the river find a purpose in daily life. Nothing grows without meaning. Nothing is taken without care. Nearby, a small fishing village remains wrapped in silence. The boats rest exactly where they were pulled ashore the evening before. Their hulls carry the marks of many years upon the water. Here and there, the wood has been repaired with careful patches where age and river currents have slowly worn it away. The fishermen know every scratch upon their boats. Every repair tells a story. One patch remembers a hidden rock. Another recalls a season of heavy flooding. A worn handle reminds its owner of countless mornings spent rowing into quiet mist before sunrise. These boats are not simply tools. They become trusted companions through many years of work. Tonight they sleep beside their owners. In one home near the landing place, an elderly fisherman lies awake for only a brief moment. Age has taught him to wake naturally before dawn. His eyes open slowly. He listens without moving. The frogs are quieter now. The breeze still moves through the palms. The village remains asleep. He smiles gently. There is still time before work begins. He closes his eyes once more. Sleep returns almost immediately. His body knows these peaceful hours well. Not far away, a family of farmers continues resting upon woven reed mats spread neatly across the floor of their home. The father has spent many days preparing fields for the coming season. His hands are broad from lifting wooden plows and carrying baskets filled with seed. His fingernails always seem to hold a little trace of dark Nile soil, no matter how carefully he washes them. The mother has spent yesterday grinding grain, baking bread, tending the family garden, and mending linen clothing beneath the afternoon shade. The children helped where they could. One gathered firewood. Another carried water. The youngest proudly collected fallen palm leaves, though the bundle was almost too large for small arms to carry. Every member of the household contributed something. Even the smallest task mattered. Now, in the quiet darkness, every tired body rests peacefully together. There is comfort in shared labor. There is comfort in shared sleep. The mud brick walls surrounding them have witnessed countless evenings just like this one. During the hottest months, they protected the family from the burning sun. During cooler nights, they held enough warmth to keep everyone comfortable. The walls are rough beneath the hand. Their color matches the earth itself. In some places, tiny fingerprints remain where wet clay was shaped many years before. Perhaps a child pressed curious fingers into the fresh mud while the house was being built. Perhaps a parent laughed quietly before smoothing the surface once again. Little traces of ordinary lives often remain hidden within ordinary homes. Outside, a narrow footpath winds between neighboring houses. By day, it is alive with movement. Women carrying jars balanced carefully upon their heads. Children racing barefoot through the dust. Merchants leading donkeys loaded with baskets. Builders returning home with tools resting across tired shoulders. Today, however, the path belongs only to moonlight. Soft shadows stretch across the packed earth. No footprints are being made. The dust rests undisturbed. Even the village cats have curled themselves into quiet corners where they sleep without concern. One gray cat lies atop a warm stone near the remains of yesterday's cooking fire. Its ears twitch from time to time. Otherwise, it barely moves. Cats have long been welcome companions in Egyptian homes. They help protect precious stores of grain from mice. They wander freely through courtyards and gardens. Children sometimes follow them with quiet fascination. At night, however, even the most curious cat seems content to sleep. Only an occasional flick of the tail hints that dreams may be passing gently through its mind. Farther away, beyond the cultivated fields, the desert appears almost silver beneath the fading moon. The dunes seem frozen in place. Yet the wind never truly stops shaping them. Grain by grain, tiny changes continue throughout the night. No one watches. No one applauds. Nature works patiently without asking to be noticed. The Egyptians learned much from such quiet persistence. The greatest changes often happen slowly. A seed becomes grain. A child becomes an adult. A rough stone becomes a polished statue. A simple apprentice becomes a skilled craftsman. One careful day follows another until many years have quietly passed. The same is true of bedtime rituals. No single evening feels remarkable. Yet together they become the rhythm of an entire lifetime. An old woman may no longer remember every harvest she has seen. She may not recall every loaf of bread she baked. But she remembers the feeling of evening. She remembers sweeping the floor before laying out sleeping mats. She remembers extinguishing the oil lamp. She remembers listening to the night sounds while her children drifted to sleep beside her. These memories settle gently into the heart. They become part of home itself. Across the valley, one temple guard remains awake. His duty is simple. He walks slowly along the outer walls, making certain everything remains peaceful. His sandals make almost no sound against the worn stone. He carries a small oil lamp whose flame glows softly within the darkness. From time to time he pauses. Not because he has heard danger. Only to admire the stillness. The great stone columns rise quietly into the night sky. The carved figures upon the walls seem almost alive beneath the moonlight. Shadows rest gently within every carved line. The guard has walked this same path hundreds of times. He knows every doorway, every staircase, every courtyard. Nothing surprises him. Routine itself has become comforting. When his watch ends, another quiet evening will already have become another memory. Nearby, inside the temple workshops, artisans sleep after long days creating beautiful objects that few people will ever notice closely. One shapes delicate beads from colored stone. Another polishes small wooden boxes. A third carefully mixes pigments for painted walls. Their work requires steady hands and endless patience. Many hours pass while creating only a single object. But haste has no place here. Beauty grows slowly. Just as sleep arrives slowly. Just as morning approaches slowly. Everything follows its own peaceful pace. The moon now hangs very low. Its light has begun to lose some of its brightness. The stars nearest the eastern horizon appear just a little fainter than before. No one watching casually would notice. The change is too gentle. Yet the world is quietly preparing itself. Birds remain silent. The villages still sleep. The ovens are cold. The boats remain tied to their posts. The fields lie calm beneath the cool air. All of Egypt seems to pause for one final peaceful breath before another day begins. And in this quiet pause, bedtime rituals continue to reveal their quiet purpose. They are not only about sleep. They are about trust. Trust that tomorrow will come. Trust that the Nile will continue to flow. Trust that bread will once again rise inside warm ovens. Trust that the fields will welcome another day's work. Trust that families will gather again beneath the evening sky when the labor is done. Night after night, these simple acts bind ordinary people together far more deeply than grand ceremonies ever could. A father straightens a sleeping mat. A mother folds a linen cloth. A grandmother whispers a familiar prayer. A child reaches for a parent's hand while drifting into dreams. No monuments remember these moments. No royal records preserve them. Yet they happen in thousands of homes, in every village along the river, until they become the quiet foundation of an entire civilization. The Nile flows beside them all, carrying its cool waters through the fading darkness, while above, the stars begin their slow retreat before the unseen sun, and the peaceful land of ancient Egypt remains wrapped in one last hour of gentle stillness before the first birds awaken to greet another timeless morning. The last hour before dawn is unlike any other. It is neither fully night nor truly morning. The darkness still covers the Nile Valley, yet it has become softer, almost transparent in places. The brightest stars continue to shine overhead, but those closest to the eastern horizon have begun to fade so gradually that only someone who has watched the sky for many years would notice. The people of ancient Egypt know this hour well. Most are still asleep. Yet the land itself seems quietly aware that morning is approaching. The breeze changes ever so slightly. The coolness becomes fresher. The scent of damp earth rises from the fields where yesterday's warmth has completely disappeared. The rich black soil, left behind by the generous floods of the Nile, breathes gently into the quiet air. Every field seems to rest peacefully. Every garden waits. The rows of onions, beans, lettuce, and herbs are motionless beneath the fading moonlight. Tiny drops of moisture have gathered upon broad green leaves. They catch the dim light like small pearls before disappearing with the coming sun. No one is there to admire them. Nature is content to create beauty for itself. Along one narrow canal, water moves slowly between carefully shaped banks. It has traveled through small gates and channels dug by patient hands over many generations. Every curve in the canal has a purpose. Every wall of packed earth has been repaired many times by farmers working together beneath the warm Egyptian sun. Tonight those canals perform their quiet work alone. Water slips silently toward the fields. Nothing asks for praise. Nothing expects applause. The work simply continues. Near the edge of one village, a family keeps a small garden behind their home. It is not large. A few vegetables grow there. Several herbs fill the air with faint fragrance whenever touched by the breeze. A young sycamore tree stretches gently above the garden wall, its leaves barely moving in the cool air. During the day, children often play beneath its shade while their mother prepares vegetables nearby. The father sometimes repairs tools there after returning from the fields. In the evening, the family sits together for a short while before darkness settles over the village. Now the garden sleeps. The clay watering jars rest where they were placed after sunset. A woven basket leans quietly against the wall. Nothing needs attention until morning. Inside the house, everyone breathes with the slow rhythm of deep sleep. The grandmother lies nearest the doorway where the cool air enters. Years ago she slept beside her own mother in another house not far from here. Later she watched her own children grow. Now she listens to the peaceful breathing of grandchildren. The generations change. The quiet routines remain. Across the village, another household belongs to a maker of sandals. His workshop is simple but orderly. Leather strips hang neatly from wooden pegs. Finished sandals stand side by side upon low shelves. Some are made for farmers who need sturdy soles for long walks through rough fields. Others belong to merchants who spend their days traveling dusty roads between villages. A few are carefully decorated for wealthier customers. Each pair has passed through skilled hands. The sandal maker understands feet. He knows where leather must bend. He knows where straps must be strong. He measures carefully because every foot is slightly different. His work allows thousands of ordinary journeys to happen comfortably. Yet few people think about the craftsman after leaving his workshop. Tonight he sleeps peacefully beside his family, his hands finally still after shaping leather from sunrise until evening. His tools rest upon a smooth wooden bench. The sharp knife catches a faint line of moonlight. The awls, needles, and polished stones remain exactly where he placed them. Tomorrow they will once again become extensions of his hands. For now, they share in the night's quiet rest. The sounds of ancient Egypt change slowly as dawn approaches. The frogs continue singing among the reeds, though their voices seem softer now. A gentle splash echoes from somewhere along the riverbank. Perhaps a fish. Perhaps a turtle slipping beneath the surface. The papyrus reeds sway together whenever the breeze passes through. Their whisper is steady and familiar. Many children fall asleep listening to these sounds every night. By the time they become adults, the music of the Nile has become part of their memory. Even when they travel to distant places, they remember the voice of home. A merchant crossing the desert may miss the soft murmur of water against the shore. A soldier stationed far from the river may dream of reeds moving in the evening breeze. A craftsman working in another town may close his eyes and remember frogs singing beside irrigation canals. Home is often remembered through its sounds. The Egyptians understood this without needing to speak of it. Not far from the river stands a bakery that will soon awaken before most of the village. Its clay ovens are dark now. Ash rests quietly upon the floor. The smell of yesterday's bread still lingers inside the walls. Large mixing bowls stand upside down after being washed carefully the evening before. The baker planned everything before sleeping. The grain has already been measured. The water jar has been filled. The firewood is stacked neatly beside the oven. Morning will arrive more peacefully because the evening was organized with care. Preparation is its own quiet kindness. It is a gift offered by yesterday to tomorrow. The Egyptians practiced this wisdom almost without thinking. At another home, a young apprentice stone carver sleeps deeply. Only a few months ago, he was trusted with little more than carrying tools and sweeping away dust. Now his teacher has begun allowing him to shape simple blocks of limestone. The work demands patience beyond measure. One careless strike may ruin many hours of careful effort. So the apprentice learns to slow down, to observe, to feel the stone, to understand where it wishes to break. The lessons are not hurried. Years will pass before he is considered a master. He accepts this gladly. The finest work cannot be rushed. Neither can wisdom. Neither can sleep. Outside his home, the stone yard appears almost magical beneath the moon. Half-finished columns rest quietly upon wooden supports. Large blocks await the sculptor's hand. Fine white dust coats the ground like pale sand. Tomorrow the steady tapping of copper chisels will fill the air once more. Tonight only silence shapes the stone. Farther north, where the Nile widens slightly, a small trading boat rocks gently against its mooring. Its cargo has been unloaded. Baskets of grain. Jars of oil. Bundles of flax. Clay pottery wrapped carefully in woven reeds. The boat itself seems grateful for rest after many days upon the water. Its ropes creak softly. The current nudges its wooden hull with endless patience. The captain sleeps nearby beneath a simple blanket. His dreams drift as quietly as the river itself. Travel across Egypt is never entirely easy. The sun is hot. The distances are long. The river changes with the seasons. Yet every successful journey ends with this same gift: rest. As the hours pass, one by one, small signs of approaching morning begin to appear. The darkness above the eastern desert loses a tiny measure of its depth. The stars closest to that horizon fade almost invisibly. The breeze carries a slightly different scent. Cooler. Cleaner. Almost sweet after the warmth of the previous day. Still, the villages remain asleep. The mothers who will soon begin baking bread continue resting. The fathers who will guide oxen through the fields remain wrapped in dreams. Children who will laugh together beneath the bright sun sleep soundly beside brothers and sisters. The old continue dreaming. The young continue growing. All beneath the same patient sky. In one quiet courtyard, a clay lamp remains exactly where it was extinguished many hours before. Its wick is cold. A faint trace of oil still clings to the rim. Soon someone will lift it again. Fresh oil will be poured. Another evening will eventually bring another gentle flame. These lamps witness countless family moments. Evening meals. Quiet conversations. Parents teaching children. Grandparents telling old stories. Simple prayers before sleep. The lamp never speaks. It simply offers light until darkness no longer needs it. The routine repeats night after night. Year after year. Generation after generation. Perhaps this is the quiet secret of ancient Egyptian bedtime rituals. They were never grand performances. They did not require magnificent temples or precious treasures. They lived in ordinary gestures. Washing away the day's dust. Straightening a sleeping mat. Covering tomorrow's bread. Checking that the animals were safe. Whispering a blessing over sleeping children. Listening to the Nile before closing tired eyes. Trusting that another sunrise would come. These gentle habits, repeated across thousands of villages for centuries, quietly shaped the hearts of ordinary people. Long before kings commissioned towering monuments. Long before scribes recorded great events upon papyrus. Families had already learned how to welcome the night with calm hearts. And so, as the eastern horizon continues its almost invisible journey toward dawn, ancient Egypt remains wrapped in one final embrace of peaceful darkness. The river flows without pause, the palms whisper softly above sleeping homes, and every quiet village along the Nile rests together beneath a sky that has watched over countless generations, carrying them gently through another comforting night toward the promise of a new day. Now the night has become wonderfully still. The moon has nearly completed its long journey across the heavens, and the stars seem to gather more closely around the quiet valley, as if they too are lingering for a few final moments before the first light of morning slowly begins to appear. The air is cool upon the skin, carrying the freshness that comes only during these peaceful hours before sunrise. Nothing feels hurried. The world seems content simply to exist. The Nile continues to move with endless patience, slipping between its green banks without asking anyone to notice. It has carried countless boats through the centuries, yet during these quiet hours it belongs mostly to itself. The river reflects the fading stars like tiny scattered lamps floating upon dark water. Along one gentle bend of the river, lotus flowers rest upon the surface. During daylight their blossoms welcome the sun. Now they remain quietly folded, floating upon calm water with remarkable grace. Their broad leaves rise and fall almost imperceptibly as small ripples pass beneath them. Tiny insects rest upon their smooth surfaces. A dragonfly clings to a slender reed nearby, perfectly still. The entire riverbank seems to be sleeping. The lotus held a special place in the hearts of the Egyptians. Its daily rhythm mirrored the rhythm of life itself. Each morning it slowly opened. Each evening it gently closed. No one asked it to do so. It simply followed the quiet order of nature. The people living beside the Nile noticed these small patterns everywhere. The birds knew when to fly. The river knew when to flood. The fields knew when to grow. People, too, learned when to work and when to rest. Bedtime became one more gentle part of this larger rhythm. Farther inland, a narrow street winds peacefully through a village whose homes stand shoulder to shoulder. The walls are smooth where fresh mud plaster has recently been applied. Other sections show older repairs made years before. Children have often leaned against these walls while talking with friends. Mothers have swept dust from their doorways each morning. Old men have rested in the shade during the hottest hours of the afternoon. Tonight the street is empty. Moonlight paints pale shapes upon the ground. A woven basket forgotten outside one doorway casts a small shadow. A clay water jar stands patiently beside another entrance. Nothing moves except the breeze. Within one of these homes, a young couple sleeps beside their first child. The baby is only a few months old. The parents are still learning the quiet rhythm of caring for such a tiny life. Every evening has become slightly different from the one before. Sometimes the baby sleeps peacefully through much of the night. Sometimes small cries fill the room until gentle rocking and soft voices bring comfort once again. Tonight has been one of the peaceful nights. The child sleeps soundly, wrapped in soft linen. The mother rests nearby, one hand still gently touching the edge of the blanket. Even in sleep, her care continues. The father dreams quietly after another day working in nearby fields. Tomorrow he will rise before the sun. He will carry simple wooden tools across his shoulder. He will greet neighbors with calm smiles. He will spend long hours beneath the warm sky. But for now, none of tomorrow's work has arrived. Only rest exists. In another house lives a family whose oldest son has recently begun helping at the village granary. He is proud of his new responsibilities. Each day he helps measure grain brought in by farmers from nearby fields. He watches experienced workers carefully. They teach him how to fill large baskets evenly, how to record simple counts, how to carry heavy sacks without wasting strength. The work is steady rather than exciting. Yet it matters greatly. The grain stored today may feed many families months from now. Even during sleep, the young apprentice smiles faintly. Perhaps he dreams of becoming trusted by the older workers. Perhaps he dreams of one day teaching another child the same careful skills. Ancient Egypt grows through quiet learning passed patiently from one generation to the next. Very little happens all at once. Knowledge moves slowly. Like water through irrigation canals. Like seeds becoming grain. Like children becoming adults. The pace itself brings peace. Near the village center stands a small well-used courtyard where neighbors often gather during the cooler hours of evening. Women sometimes sit there weaving baskets while talking softly. Older men repair fishing nets beneath the shade. Children play simple games until darkness slowly spreads across the sky. Stories are shared there. Advice is offered there. Neighbors help one another there. Tonight the courtyard rests beneath moonlight. Empty stools remain where they were left. Bundles of reeds wait to become tomorrow's baskets. A half-finished fishing net hangs neatly from a wooden peg. Its owner stopped working when daylight disappeared. Tomorrow the net will receive another careful row of knots. No one minds waiting. Patient work often lasts the longest. A little farther away, beyond the houses, several donkeys sleep standing quietly together. They have spent the day carrying sacks of grain, clay jars, bundles of firewood, and woven baskets between villages. Their backs have known honest labor. Their slow, steady footsteps have crossed dusty roads countless times. Now they lower their heads peacefully. The burdens have been removed. The ropes hang neatly nearby. Morning will bring work once more. But even these faithful animals receive their hours of rest. The Egyptians understood the value of caring for working animals. A tired donkey could not carry tomorrow's load well. Rest strengthened both people and animals alike. The village potter has also entered deep sleep. His workshop stands silent. Rows of fresh vessels wait patiently beneath a shelter where the cool night air protects them before firing. Some jars will hold water. Others will carry beer brewed from barley. Some will store cooking oil. A few will travel by boat to distant settlements along the Nile. Each vessel began as simple mud gathered from the riverbank. The potter transformed it little by little. His fingers pressed gently against spinning clay. His thumbs shaped smooth curves. Water kept the surface soft. The wheel turned steadily beneath practiced hands. There was no need to rush. Clay remembers haste. It rewards patience. Many Egyptian craftsmen quietly believed this. Whether working with clay, wood, stone, linen, or metal, calm hands usually produced the finest results. Perhaps bedtime offered its own lesson in patience. One could not force sleep to arrive. It came only after the body had slowly released the day's work. After worries had settled. After conversation had faded. After lamps had been extinguished. Sleep, like all good things, arrived gently. Beyond the cultivated valley, the western desert stretches toward distant cliffs where many tombs have been carved into the rock over centuries. During the day these hills appear warm and golden beneath the sun. Now they seem cool and almost blue beneath the fading moonlight. The stone holds memories older than anyone living. Wind has shaped the cliffs for thousands of years. Tiny grains of sand continue their endless journey across the landscape. Nothing in the desert seems hurried. Its silence teaches patience better than words ever could. Closer to the river once again, a pair of fishermen sleep beside an overturned boat. One has wrapped himself in a simple linen cloth. The other rests with one arm beneath his head. Their nets have been repaired. Their hooks have been gathered neatly together. Tomorrow they hope the river will be generous. They know some mornings bring fuller catches than others. Yet they rarely complain. The Nile gives according to its own nature. Some days are abundant. Some days are modest. Accepting this rhythm has become part of life. As the deepest darkness slowly begins to soften, another subtle change passes across the land. The night insects grow quieter. The breeze pauses for a few moments before returning once again. The stars nearest the east lose a little more of their brightness. The first birds have not yet begun to sing. The villages remain asleep. This is the final peaceful breath before morning. Within homes throughout Egypt, bedtime rituals have completed their quiet purpose. The lamps have long been dark. The prayers have been whispered. The mats have supported tired bodies through restful hours. The dreams have wandered softly through sleeping minds. Parents have watched over children. Grandparents have rested after lives filled with steady work. Builders, bakers, fishermen, potters, weavers, scribes, merchants, shepherds, servants, and farmers have all shared the same gentle gift. A few hours free from labor. A few hours wrapped in silence. A few hours beneath the faithful stars. And while they sleep, the Nile continues flowing beside them with calm determination, carrying cool waters through the fertile valley, as the first invisible promise of dawn waits patiently beyond the eastern desert, still hidden from every sleeping eye but drawing steadily closer with the same quiet certainty that has greeted ancient Egypt for countless peaceful mornings. The first hint of dawn has not yet appeared, but the night has begun its quiet farewell. No great change announces its passing. There is no sudden brightness. No loud sound. Instead, the darkness slowly softens, almost as if the world itself has taken a long, peaceful breath. Above the Nile Valley, countless stars still shimmer across the heavens. Their light has traveled unimaginable distances before reaching the earth, where it falls gently upon river water, mud brick homes, palm groves, and sleeping villages. The stars have watched over Egypt for thousands of years. They watched the first farmers sow grain beside the river. They watched children learn to walk through dusty courtyards. They watched fishermen cast woven nets into calm water. Night after night, generation after generation, they have quietly kept their place above the valley. For the people below, bedtime has always unfolded beneath their patient gaze. In one small village, tucked between fertile fields and the winding Nile, nearly every home remains silent. The last cooking fires have long since turned to cool gray ash. Clay ovens stand empty after another day of baking. The scent of warm bread has faded, leaving only the faint smell of earth, straw, and cooling brick. The homes themselves seem to rest. Their thick walls have protected families through another warm day and another peaceful night. Tiny cracks in the plaster catch the moonlight. Wooden doors remain closed. Simple reed curtains stir gently whenever the breeze wanders through narrow streets. Inside one home, an old reed mat has been used by the same family for many years. Its edges are worn smooth. Some reeds have darkened with age. Others have been carefully repaired where they began to loosen. The mat is not beautiful in the way a palace floor might be beautiful. Its beauty comes from faithful use. It has carried sleeping children. It has welcomed tired parents after long harvests. It has comforted elderly grandparents whose bodies needed rest after decades of labor. Night after night, it has quietly served the family without asking anything in return. Nearby rests a carved wooden headrest. Its smooth surface has been polished by countless evenings. The wood holds the faint warmth of the room. A craftsman shaped it many years ago using patient hands and simple tools. Perhaps he never imagined how many peaceful nights it would witness. Yet here it remains, faithfully doing its small work. Many ordinary objects in ancient Egypt lived long lives. They were repaired rather than replaced. Cherished rather than discarded. Every possession represented careful effort. Nothing came easily. Everything deserved respect. Outside, a narrow alley curves gently between neighboring homes. By daylight it echoes with familiar sounds. Children chasing one another barefoot. Neighbors greeting each other kindly. Women carrying baskets filled with vegetables. Men returning from workshops with dust upon their clothing. Today none of those footsteps can be heard. Only silence fills the path. A cat slips quietly along the wall before disappearing into another courtyard. Its paws make no sound upon the packed earth. Cats have become trusted companions in many Egyptian households. They protect grain stores from hungry mice. They stretch comfortably beside warm ovens. Children laugh when kittens tumble clumsily after one another. Even at night, they move with calm confidence, as though they understand every hidden corner of the village. The air continues cooling slightly before dawn. It is perhaps the most comfortable moment of the entire day. By afternoon, the sun will once again warm the valley until workers seek every patch of shade they can find. But now the breeze feels wonderfully fresh. It slips through open windows. It touches folded linen hanging near doorways. It carries the scent of the river farther inland. Some families intentionally leave small openings in their homes to welcome this gentle air throughout the night. Comfort often comes from the simplest things. A cool breeze. Fresh water. A quiet room. The reassuring sound of familiar voices nearby. The Egyptians understood this well. Many of life's greatest comforts required no great wealth. Not far from the village stands a modest workshop where a basket maker spends his days. Bundles of papyrus and reeds are stacked neatly against one wall. Finished baskets of many sizes stand in orderly rows. Some are large enough to carry harvested grain. Others hold fruit gathered from gardens. Tiny baskets keep sewing tools or cooking herbs close at hand. The basket maker learned his craft from his father. His father learned from his grandfather. Each generation added small improvements. Perhaps one discovered a stronger weaving pattern. Another found a better way to dry reeds before working them. Knowledge flowed gently through families, just as the Nile flowed through the valley. No lesson was hurried. Children watched. Then they tried. Then they practiced. One day they became teachers themselves. This slow passing of knowledge shaped nearly every bedtime conversation. Parents often spoke quietly with children before sleep. Not long speeches. Only gentle reminders. How to care for tools. How to respect older people. How to thank the gods for another peaceful day. How to work honestly. How to be patient. Such lessons settled naturally into young hearts. Not because they were forced. Because they were repeated with kindness over many evenings. Elsewhere in the village, an elderly widow sleeps peacefully beside a small oil jar. She lives simply. Her children now have families of their own. Neighbors often visit during daylight, bringing bread, vegetables, or fresh water. She offers stories in return. She remembers floods that happened before many of them were born. She remembers years when the harvest was especially generous. She remembers festivals celebrated beneath clear skies. Her memories have become gifts for younger generations. Tonight those memories rest quietly with her. The room is still. Only the slow rise and fall of her breathing fills the silence. Along the riverbank, two young brothers sleep near their father's fishing boat. Tomorrow they hope to help him again. Their tasks are still small. Carrying baskets. Untangling rope. Holding the boat steady while it is loaded. Watching carefully as their father repairs damaged nets. Every season they learn a little more. One day they will guide their own boats across these same waters. For now they simply dream. Perhaps they dream of catching the largest fish in the village. Perhaps they dream of sailing farther than they have ever traveled before. Children's dreams are often simple. Their futures seem endless. Nearby, the father sleeps with one hand resting upon a coil of rope. Years upon the river have shaped his body. The current has taught him patience. Storms have taught him caution. Quiet mornings have taught him gratitude. He knows that every successful fishing trip begins long before the boat touches the water. It begins with preparation the evening before. The nets must be cleaned. The ropes checked. The oars placed where they can be found easily in darkness. These bedtime routines make the coming day smoother. They turn busy mornings into calm ones. Across Egypt, similar habits unfold in every trade. The baker measures grain. The potter covers fresh clay. The carpenter sharpens tools. The shepherd gathers his flock. The weaver folds finished linen carefully away from dust. Each evening contains tomorrow hidden inside it. This quiet wisdom becomes part of daily life. No one speaks of it as something remarkable. It is simply how things are done. The moon now hangs very low above the western horizon. Its light grows softer with every passing moment. The western desert receives its pale glow while the eastern horizon remains wrapped in darkness. Soon those places will exchange their light. The moon will disappear. The sun will rise. But not yet. The land enjoys these final peaceful moments of night. A gentle mist forms above parts of the Nile. It drifts slowly across the water, making the river appear almost dreamlike. Reeds emerge from the pale veil. Then disappear again. Fishing boats seem to float between water and sky. The entire valley feels wrapped in quiet softness. No artist could fully capture this hour. It changes too gently. Its beauty comes from stillness itself. Somewhere within the village, a clay water jar gives a tiny sound as the cool night air settles around it. A wooden roof beam creaks softly. Palm leaves brush together overhead. These are the sounds of sleeping Egypt. Not silence without life. Silence filled with gentle life. The people who live here rarely notice these sounds consciously. They have heard them since infancy. They belong to home. Just as the smell of fresh bread belongs to morning. Just as warm sunlight belongs to afternoon. Just as cool breezes belong to evening. Every hour has its own quiet character. Every season has its own familiar rhythm. Bedtime rituals fit naturally into this larger pattern. They ask for nothing extraordinary. Only simple care. A clean place to sleep. A little food shared with family. A quiet prayer. A moment of gratitude. A cool drink of water. A peaceful heart. These small things become the foundation of contentment. As another ancient night gently nears its end, the villages remain wrapped in calm. Farmers, builders, scribes, fishermen, servants, merchants, weavers, potters, bakers, shepherds, and children continue resting beneath the fading stars, while the eternal Nile glides silently beside them, carrying the promise of another ordinary, beautiful day that has not yet begun, allowing the precious final moments of bedtime to linger peacefully over the ancient land. At last, the eastern horizon begins to awaken. Not all at once. Only with the faintest touch of pale light spreading across the edge of the desert. The stars, which have watched over the Nile throughout the long and peaceful night, slowly fade one by one. They do not disappear in haste. They simply grow softer, yielding their place to another day, just as they have done for thousands upon thousands of mornings. The moon slips gently beyond the western hills. Its silver light gives way to the warm promise of dawn. Along the quiet riverbanks, a cool mist lingers above the water for a little while longer. The Nile continues its endless journey, flowing as calmly as it did before the first village stood upon its shores and as calmly as it will long after countless generations have passed. Its patient waters never hurry. Neither does history. The first birds begin their gentle songs from the palm trees. A fisherman opens his eyes and listens. A baker stirs beside a cold clay oven. A farmer stretches tired shoulders before another day beneath the sun. Children remain asleep for just a few peaceful moments more, wrapped in linen and dreaming their final dreams of the night. Soon the villages will slowly come alive. Doors will open. Sandals will touch cool stone floors. Fresh bread will fill the morning air. Boats will drift quietly onto the river. Voices will rise softly as neighbors greet one another. Another ordinary day in ancient Egypt will begin, much like the one before it, and much like the one that will follow. The great temples will still stand. The fields will still welcome careful hands. The workshops will once again echo with the patient rhythm of chisels, looms, grinding stones, and wooden tools. Yet the peaceful hours of the night will remain quietly within every heart, offering strength for the work ahead. Perhaps that is the gentle lesson these ancient bedtime rituals leave behind. They were never about grand ceremonies or magnificent treasures. They were about simple kindness. A home swept clean before sleep. A loaf of bread shared with family. A clay lamp glowing softly in the darkness. A whispered prayer. A cool breeze drifting through an open doorway. A parent adjusting a blanket over a sleeping child. A grandfather watching the stars for one quiet moment before closing his eyes. These small acts were repeated so faithfully that they became the quiet heartbeat of an entire civilization. Kings ruled. Dynasties changed. Temples rose from the earth. Monuments reached toward the sky. But ordinary evenings continued almost unchanged, carried gently from one generation to the next. The greatest part of ancient Egypt did not live only in stone. It lived in humble homes. It lived beside warm ovens and woven mats. It lived in the scent of fresh bread, the sound of flowing water, the comfort of familiar voices, and the peaceful certainty that another sunrise would come. And now, our own quiet journey through that ancient world also grows still. The villages fade gently into the distance. The palm trees become soft silhouettes against the brightening sky. The voices of farmers and fishermen drift farther away. The river continues flowing, though its sound becomes quieter with every passing moment. The warm desert breeze slows. The birds sing a little farther away. The morning light spreads across the valley with calm and endless patience. Soon even these images begin to soften. The mud brick homes. The reed boats. The quiet temples. The gardens beside the Nile. The dusty roads. The sleeping families. They slowly dissolve into silence, leaving only the peaceful feeling they carried with them. And somewhere beside that timeless river, beneath a sky that has watched over countless lives, ancient Egypt welcomes another gentle morning, while the quiet night slips away without regret, content to return again when the sun has finished its patient journey across the heavens. May the calm of those ancient evenings linger with you a little longer. May the steady rhythm of the Nile, the whisper of the reeds, the glow of a single oil lamp, and the peaceful